Portable TV. Come watch with me. Joining us now is the perfect guest, an author who I have followed for years. He wrote Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You've probably read it or seen it. It describes how companies, banks, and the U.S. government often work together to influence and interfere in the sovereignty of countries around the world. This is interesting. John, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, John Perkins. Hey, after watching much of your work and reading many of your books, I almost get the sense that most countries, smaller countries like in Latin America, are helpless to the powers of these giant corporations and, to a certain extent, the U.S. government. Whereas in this case, China is doing to the United States what most of those small countries have not been able to do. Do you get my drift?
Absolutely, Rick. I think that's very true. And I think what we have to recognize, like it or not, China is a growing power, and it's being accepted by many parts of the world. Until the pandemic hit, I was traveling a great deal around the world, including the former Soviet countries, and countries in Central Asia, China, Russia. And, you know, everywhere where I go, I find that the opinion of the United States as a world leader is declining. I don't like that, but it's a fact. On the other hand, the whole idea of the New Silk Road, of the Chinese endeavors to win the world to its side, are being pretty effective, actually. And what the United States is doing right now with this business with Taiwan it's really like, you know, sticking a thorn in the side of a very, very powerful enemy.
You were there when the United States was getting its hegemony, right? Its preeminence, right? Did you work at the CIA? Is that right?
Well, I worked for a private corporation, but our clients included the U.S. State Department, the World Bank, not directly the CIA, but I'd say indirectly, yes. But not. I was never employed. Never carried a CIA card.
What is the United States? What is China doing that the United States did not do? And let me just explain to our guests who maybe haven't seen your work. You detail how the United States teams up with companies and goes into small countries, let's just name any country, Guatemala, and literally foments revolution, foments new elections, that kind of things. That's how we gained our influence in that place. What is China doing better than what we did?
Well, I think we made some very big mistakes. Once the Soviet Union ended in 1991, we had an opportunity to show the world how good capitalism and democracy could be. Instead, we imposed what's called conditionalities, or structural adjustment policies on countries when we gave them loans. We insisted that their politics be consistent with ours, or at least that they help our companies. We didn't really care whether they were dictators or democratically elected presidents, as long as they opened the door for U.S. corporations. But we made very, very strong conditionalities. China has made a point of not doing that. You know, they're saying, well, listen, we want to trade with these countries. We don't care what kind of governments they have. And again, you know, I'm not justifying one system versus the other. I'm an American. I want to see us do a lot better. But what I am saying is that this is winning the hearts and minds of people, because people resent when their countries, when their governments have rules imposed on them by other countries. We also located military bases in many of these countries, and we forced them to vote with us in the United Nations against Cuba, etc. The Chinese are not doing that. Sovereign nations really resent that. And so I think, you know, I think the Chinese economic hitmen, and they're out there, believe me, they are really out there. But I think they learned a lot from the mistakes that I and other economic hitmen from the United States made over that period of time. We made some big mistakes, and we need to correct them.
That's a fascinating statement that you just made. The same economic hits that the United States did for so many decades, the Chinese are now doing, but perhaps in a more sophisticated way, in a different way. I'm out of time, but this is a conversation I want to pick up with you again. John, really thanks so much for joining us. Appreciated the conversation.